Hi, I'm Olivia,
Hi, I'm Maggie.
and this is Girls Talk Film. But you knew that already if you're listening.
Exactly. This is the podcast where we take three different movies with different direction, different artistic value, different styles, whatever you want to call it. And they all share a kind of common theme. And we like to look at what's similar about them, what's different about them, what's good about them, what's bad about them, all of the above. And this is, again, the podcast that no one asked for but us. And we're excited to see you again.
So true, Maggie.
Yeah.
So true.
So, Olivia, what's been going on with you this week?
You know what? I've actually come to a realization that kind of sucks is that I can't tell people that I don't really like Tate McRae.
Really?
I've learned that this week.
Is it better or worse to say that I don't think I've ever listened to one Tate McRae song?
I mean, for me, that validates me.
Okay.
But for other people, I don't know, they might get really mad at you. Again, I genuinely did not know that people had such strong feelings about Tate McRae until I casually shared that, oh yeah, I like one of her songs, but not really any of the others. And I don't really get it, I guess.
Right.
And people had very strong reactions to that.
Yeah.
They don't like that I don't like Tate McRae.
You also are not a huge fan of Taylor Swift, and we've had fights about that.
That is true.
So I can understand those people, but you are in safe company with me because I don't really even know any of Tate McRae's songs. So, don't worry. You are safe with me.
I feel so safe right now.
Yeah.
I mean, even Taylor Swift, I get it. I just don't like her music. It's just not for me.
That's fine.
Yeah,
I
just
disagree
not for
with
me.
you, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's bad. It's just
Right.
not my kind of thing.
Right.
Well, how was your week?
It was good. I recently just started that new Netflix miniseries, Adolescence.
Oh,
whoa,
dude!
First of all, I had to beg my family not to continue with it, because I was coming here to film this tonight.
No, oh,
and they were
sorry.
Yeah, they were like, you have one more night, and then we're moving on without you. And I am so happy. So we're gonna continue.
Wait, which episode
tomorrow.
did you leave on?
We just started the first one. So we're only one episode in. And episode one, I highly recommend it. I haven't seen the rest of it yet, but episode one was insane. My whole family, we were watching it through our hands. It was so good. It's just, it's heavy, don't get me wrong, but it's crazy. Will have your heart pumping the entire time.
The one shot thing is insane.
Oh, it's
too.
insane.
Wait, I'm actually excited. In a few weeks, we'll be watching that director's debut film.
Really?
Which I love, and I know you haven't seen it, and it's a oneer. The whole film's a oneer.
Okay, so that's his thing.
Well, I think he did that, and then that experience emboldened him to try it again with Adolescence.
Okay.
Because he's done some other stuff that are not one take things, but this film is not only is it done in one take, it's also a brilliant film. And the one take only enhances the intensity of it.
Okay, that's good to know. I'm excited. But yeah, I thought it was great. Yeah, I highly recommend it.
It's really good. As I have seen all 4 episodes.
Okay, all right.
And pretty fantastic.
Okay.
Pretty incredible throughout. It will reduce you to tears though. I watched it with my dad, and I have not seen a 60-year-old man be reduced to tears that quickly. It was episode 4 is a
now
a weeper.
I'm excited to watch it with my dad because my dad never cries. So I'm curious to see if it'll bring him to tears too.
I don't know. My dad's he's not a crier, but he will cry at emotional things in films.
Okay.
We've cried together at with certain films, certain shows.
Okay, understandable.
Yeah.
Should we get into today's episode?
Should we?
No. Sorry, guys. This week's episode is something I'm really excited about.
Yeah, no, it's a goodie.
Yeah, it is American Gothic.
Okay, so American Gothic. What is it? For those that don't know, American Gothic is a subgenre of the Gothic, which itself is a subgenre of Romanticism. In his 2009 book, American Gothic, author Charles Crow claims that the American Gothic genre enabled artists to explore the imaginative expression of the fears and forbidden desires of Americans. American Gothic literature often delves into the complexities of the human mind, exploring themes like madness, guilt, the duality of human nature, as well as kind of how we're connected to the land that we live on. Some more modern examples of American Gothic fiction that you guys might recognize are Cormac McCarthy or Flannery O'Connor. They've done some really, really great work in the American Gothic. Essentially, American Gothic is Gothic that explores specifically American issues, and it's also a little more concerned with like the inner workings of the mind than its European counterpart.
Totally. I also feel like maybe it's important to note that there are like weird subgenres of American Gothic. So there's like Southern Gothic, like Western Gothic. It depends based on like the region that you're setting your story in. But we chose American Gothic because our films don't take place in one specific region.
Mm-hmm. And you know what I love about American Gothic, Maggie?
What?
The drama.
Yes, this is a very, very naughty subgenre. We're
very
go into.
naughty, very weird, and just like I feel like American Gothic specifically is so concerned with like the inner workings of the American family.
Yeah, totally.
Which leads to melodrama, because of course it does.
Yeah.
And I fucking love melodrama. I love it.
In preparation for our episode today, Olivia had a really great idea that we would...
We're playing American Gothic bingo.
Yes, we have some common themes that come up in American Gothic stories that as we go through our 3 films, we're going to see if we can cross off a bunch on our list, which looking at our list right now,
I think we're good.
I think we'll probably get every single one of them.
Oh, 100%.
But I'm excited.
I am very excited.
So let's get into the first movie.
Let's do it.
So our first movie is from Park Chan-wook.
Love.
And it is Stoker.
Which is also Park Chan-wook's first English language film.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I didn't know that. He's done a few since Stoker, but I didn't realize that Stoker was his first.
I thought it was really interesting how it's a Korean filmmaker making an American Gothic film. I just think that's a very interesting combo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Stoker is also like, this is a very quintessentially American Gothic film. Like, this is involved in the genre and very steeped in genre tropes.
I also feel like, and we talked about this a little bit before, but like it's so influential on American culture, especially like with teenage girls. So it's so funny to think that a foreign filmmaker is making this.
Yeah, I mean, this is a film that I just want to start off by saying Stoker is a movie best enjoyed by emo 16-year-old girls.
Yeah.
This is made for emo 16-year-old girls, and that is what this movie is.
Yeah, like, it is Tumblr core to its essential being.
I'm so shocked it doesn't have more of a cult following. Like, I really feel like this would have taken off on 2014 Tumblr, and I'm kind of incredibly surprised that it didn't. I really like this movie. I saw it for the first time when I was like 14 or 15, which is the right age to enjoy this movie.
Totally. I wrote later in my notes, I was like, thank God teenage me never found this movie. I would have been so insufferable.
Literally, I was.
Yeah.
I truly, truly was.
Yep. All right. So, yes, directed by Park Chan-wook, written by Wentworth Miller. And
that's a great writer name.
Yeah, it's giving like F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Yeah, big time.
So the movie opens on India Stoker's 18th birthday. Her father, Richard, has just died in some horrible car accident, and she's left alone with her mother, Evelyn.
At her father's funeral, her estranged uncle, Charlie, who's her father's brother, who's supposedly like out traveling the world and has never met her, comes to visit and kind of just immediately announces that he's going to stay with India and Evelyn indefinitely to support them through the loss of Richard, India's father. Also, very early on, it's established that India is a really skilled hunter.
Yes.
And that her and her father would hunt together all the time. Like, that was their thing that they did together. And India is, like, unnaturally skilled at it.
It's also important to note India is played by Mia
Mia Wasikowska, who you might know from Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland.
She's really good at playing weird girl. She's also in Jane Eyre.
Yes.
I love her in that.
No, she has a face that's like meant for period pieces.
Yeah, and I think she's a great actress. I love her.
Very good. And I thought she was really good in this. Like she went places that I wasn't entirely expecting her to go.
Yes,
also,
totally.
I think she was like 20 when they filmed this.
Yeah,
and
she's really good.
Yeah, it was like a very brave performance for like being so young.
So Charlie moves in. Him and Evelyn grow very intimate very quickly.
Yeah, Evelyn clearly like was over her marriage with her late husband, like maybe before they died, and sees Charlie as like, oh, you're just like Richard when Richard was young and exciting.
Evelyn feels kind of like there was this really close bond between Richard and India.
Yes, and that she was left out of it.
Yeah, she's kind of like a third wheel. So when Charlie comes in, not only does he remind her of when Richard was younger and kind of like brings back that kind of sexual desire, but I think it kind of rekindles this like romantic partnership that she used to have with Richard before he and India got so close.
Definitely.
India continues to rebuff Charlie's attempts to befriend her. She's giving him the cold shoulder this whole time.
Yeah, which I will say at this part I didn't quite get why she disliked him so much, like from the get-go. But to be fair, your dad just died, and then like his brother, who you've never met or like really heard of, is just like, yeah, I'm gonna move in with you guys.
Yeah.
And your mother's like so gung-ho for it. Like, I get it. At like 18 I'd be kind of pissed about that.
It was giving me Hamlet, like when his uncle is made king and he's like all depressed in the first act, and he's like, oh, woe is me, my father's dead, my uncle is the king, and he's banging my mom. Like, so it kind of gave me that vibe of just like moody teenager who's mourning but also like is struggling with their own like coming of age understanding of the world.
Definitely. And also very kind of interestingly, Charlie almost as soon as he moves in starts wearing Richard's old belts. And tells India that like he's wearing her father's belt, and the belt is a very interesting symbol throughout the movie. At this point, it definitely symbolizes like him taking on the role of the man of the house.
India witnesses Charlie argue with Mrs. McGarrick, who is kind of like the head caretaker, maid, cook of their house.
Yeah, but she's like been with the house for like many, many years.
Yes. And then she just mysteriously like doesn't come into work one day. So she's now disappeared. India's great aunt Gwendolyn visits the family, and Gwendolyn is very surprised when Charlie claims he's been traveling the world, and she tells Evelyn that they need to talk like in private about Charlie.
Yeah, like very intensely takes her aside and is like, we need to talk about him.
Yes, and like clearly like disapproves with like him staying at the house, and mentions something like, oh, like Richard, and setting up like, I don't know what Richard would think about Charlie staying here. Later that night, Charlie shows up at her hotel and strangles her with the belt.
Yeah, this is the first time we see Charlie like actively be violent. His presence is very
sinister
from the get-go, but actually seeing him be violent is quite shocking for the first time. You're not entirely expecting it when it happens.
Yes, and at the same time that we are seeing Charlie murder his aunt, India goes down to the freezer to grab some ice cream that like they had gotten earlier in the movie, and she discovers the head of Mrs. McGarrick.
Yeah, so kind of surmising that Charlie murdered her as well. I do want to say at this point, the film is so visually stunning. This is genuinely one of the most beautiful films I've seen in a very long time. The visual storytelling is so incredible throughout, and like to be expected from Park Chan-wook. Like, he's kind of known for that, but here especially I really feel like he's like flexing his muscle. And a movie that is so involved with sensory experience is kind of the perfect way to not only tell a gothic, but to tell a sexual awakening story, which is what the film is. It's a story about India's sexual awakening. But like, what a perfect environment and way to tell it through this like deeply, deeply sensory filmmaking.
Totally. This film is shot by Chung-hoon.
Yes, who is Park Chan-wook's longtime cinematographer.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So yeah, this movie is visually stunning. And I mentioned it off camera before we started filming, but this movie also has really great sound design. It kind of exists in this like really like dream-like scope a lot of the time,
Yes.
especially through the visuals. And yeah, I thought it was great.
So India is also like really bullied at school. Like she's like a real target of bullies. She's odd and quiet. So
She's also pretty.
Yeah.
So like they kind of see her as like the weird girl that like, I don't know.
that they can like sexually harass and
Yes,
get away with, basically.
totally.
So she's like actively threatened at school, and it is kind of, the bully dialogue is like so cringe. Like it's so like no one would ever say that.
It is
but like a bully in a movie would say it.
It's a little Lifetime original movie, that's for sure.
Very much so. It really is like in those moments that took me out of it, because it seems so at odds with the very impressive visual style of the film. It's just the dialogue in those scenes did feel a little juvenile.
Yeah, there are very few but very strong moments in this movie where it gives, and I don't mean this as an insult, but it kind of gives soap opera a little bit.
Yes, 100%. But it's like some of those moments really work for me.
Totally.
And some of them really don't.
Yeah.
And like this scene is an example of that. Okay, so yeah, India's like trying to leave school, and this like group of bullies starts threatening her. And this one kid named Whip Taylor,
Great name.
interesting name.
Yeah.
Another one who's like, the actor is clearly 30 and is like playing 17. But okay.
I do love that actor though, so I'm like totally okay with it. I don't love him in this movie. He's not a great guy in this movie, but like,
but he's a good actor. I mean, he was good in the movie.
Yeah,
he sucked, but like the acting was good.
Yeah.
Whip kind of comes to her defense, but she ends up choosing to stab one of the bullies through the hand with a pencil, and it's like pretty horrible. The bully like crumples in front of her. It's a good scene, but it's still like her reaction to the bullying is still entirely too calm.
Yeah, totally. I would be like a little terrified if I were her to go to school the next day.
No, yeah,
there's like,
she's pretty unmoved
there's like
by
8
it.
guys and there's one of her.
Yeah.
And again, all of these men, bad casting, but all of these men are like pushing 35.
Yeah.
So like,
But
I'd be a
they're
little
seniors
scared.
in high school.
Yeah, totally. That night, India witnesses Charlie and Evelyn have a romantic embrace. Is that what you would call it?
They were like dancing together in the dining room very suggestively, and India witnesses it, and it's more just kind of like, I mean, when I first saw it, I thought she was offended by the fact that her mom was moving on from her dad so fast.
Yeah.
But now when I view it, I recognize that she's a little jealous that her mom is getting Charlie's attention and not her.
Totally. I would also say it's a moment of, again, a sexual awakening, because it's a pretty sexual moment.
Yes.
Like they kiss and, you know, Evelyn is like kind of moaning, and it's there's a lot of tension between the two. And as India's watching it, it kind of also gave me that thing where it's like the equivalent of like a guy looking through like a peephole. Like it's kind of like this unknown feeling of like sexual
interest.
Yeah, totally. That you don't even know what to describe it as.
Exactly. And it is kind of interesting. Charlie is presented kind of throughout the film as this like masculine sexual ideal. Like pretty much every woman that he comes across is interested in him in some way.
Yeah, there's a scene where India's riding the bus and he's like driving next to her, and all the girls on the school bus are like, it's like Elvis is driving by. They are freaking out.
I mean, to be fair, like small town and like hot new guy coming
in a nice car
with like a convertible.
Yeah,
like
totally.
I get it, like for high school girls.
Yeah.
But it's this kind of thing of, throughout the film, it's pretty clear that India is sort of sexually interested in Charlie, like that he evokes something within her, but she hates him for it.
Yeah, totally. Again, she's repressing these feelings, at least in the beginning.
Very much so. But anyway, seeing Charlie and her mom kind of making out is really upsetting to her. She runs away. She runs off to a local diner where she runs into Whip, who's the kid that defended her from the bullies earlier. And she kind of just like drags him into the woods and starts making out with him.
Sorry, can I interrupt? We hit repressed desires in bingo.
Yes. Okay, sorry. We also have big old house.
Oh, yes, big old house. Okay. We already got 2. She and Whip are making out, and then India very aggressively bites his lip.
Like too hard enough to draw blood.
Yes. Whip kind of gets angry, but also gets like really horny. And
well, he takes it as like a challenge.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I knew you were a freak, but I didn't know you're a freak like that. And he starts going further. She tells him to stop, and then it starts to get like very aggressive.
Yeah, he like pushes her to the ground and like is about to attack her.
Yes.
I will say I found this like all incredibly cheesy. Like
Really?
Yes, I feel like that's in every film is like, oh, the guy that you thought was a nice guy like turns out to be a violent rapist.
Yeah, I guess that point. I thought you meant like the attack itself.
No. But it's like that trope of like, oh, you think he's the nice guy, but not only is he not the nice guy, he's the worst guy.
Right, but
that it's kind of just like, I feel like I've seen that scene a million times in a million different movies.
True, but I will say in real life, like every girl can relate to like thinking the guy was a good guy and then he's not as good of a guy. So like,
oh,
hey,
yes.
if it's a cautionary tale that women need to see on a daily, whatever. Before he can force himself onto India, Charlie intervenes and breaks Whip's neck with the belt. So once again, this belt is being used as a murder weapon.
Yes, and Charlie fully pops out of nowhere. Like,
yeah, oh yeah, where was he hiding?
No clue. Was he following India? Like,
you'd have to assume, but also like there is.
I get that it's on their grounds.
Yeah, it's on their like property technically, but also something in this movie that I did note is that people tend to teleport like a lot, and it's kind of like, oh, okay.
No, I have that in my notes too.
Yeah, but he also kills Whip while he's like on top of India. So he breaks his neck and then Whip's body like literally falls on top of India. It's a very like intense scene.
It's very intense. And we see India go back to the house, undress, like all her clothes are covered in dirt, get into the shower.
She's in this like weird state of shock as she's undressing.
Yeah. And you kind of assume that she's very disturbed by what happened.
Yeah,
and
she's kind of like gasping and it seems like she's almost having a panic attack in the shower.
That's what it seems like. And then you realize that, oh no, she's not gasping from shock. She's gasping because she's masturbating.
Yeah. My notes say, what am I watching? It was this is
so
like
basically like her uncle killing her attempted rapist is like massive turn on for her.
Yeah, it's this is kind of where the movie I think really drives into like the whole theme of violence and sex.
So her sexual fantasies are often violent, and recognizing the fact that Charlie is capable of violence is something that is very appealing to her.
Totally. So Evelyn tells India that she's going to like clear out her father's office. India goes in, and in Richard's office, she discovers dozens upon dozens of letters that Charlie wrote to her over the years.
Even though they've never met.
Yeah.
Like they had never met ever.
And like when I say like from India's birth to her 18th birthday, like constant letters, he's detailing all the countries he's going to, the people he's meeting, basically all of his travels. However, she does notice on the back of them that the sending address is from a mental institution. So clearly he has not been traveling the world like he's been saying he has for the past like however many years.
Yeah, that was his whole reason for like why he's never met India and her mom Evelyn, is that he's this world traveler and like he was just out traveling the world while they were there. So yeah, clearly that isn't true. India confronts Charlie about this, and he like basically just admits that it's true.
I feel like it's also important to say, while India's in the office, she also finds old photos these old photos reveal that her father had another brother who died when he was a child.
Yes. So India like confronts Charlie with all of this information. He pretty readily gives it over to her.
Yeah, he's pretty honest from the get-go.
He tells her that he killed him and Richard's youngest brother by burying him alive in a sandbox.
Brutal.
Yeah, that's like what a horrible way to die.
Yeah. And it's fucked up how he like does it too. He like sends him down the slide and he like basically digs a big hole at the end of the slide and you're like, wow, that's cold as fuck.
Yeah. And he was then obviously put in a mental institution. He was released on India's 18th birthday.
Sorry, I hate to interrupt you. The worst mental institution ever.
Why?
He doesn't learn anything. He was away his entire life and never was rehabilitated. He gets out and immediately like starts acting crazy again.
We're not even going to get started on the American prison and rehabilitation system. If anything, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, actually most realistic part of this movie.
So he was released on India's 18th birthday and actually like went to meet Richard. Richard said like, I can give you a car, I can give you money, I can give you like an apartment, a place to live, money, as long as you stay away from my family. And Charlie's answer to that was to kill him and stage it as a car accident. And I feel like the fact that Charlie's release from the mental institution came on India's 18th birthday, which was also the day of her father's death. Obviously, he killed her father.
Right.
But that kind of cements his role in the film as him being intrinsic to India's coming of age. He enters her life on her 18th birthday, the day that she kind of officially becomes a woman. Mm-hmm. He is the impetus for her sexual awakening and is also the validation of her violent desires, which are very kind of intrinsic to her nature.
Yeah, he introduces the violence into her life to a new level. I mean, she was a hunter before, but he introduces it in a much more extreme way.
And you do get the sense, too, that, like, these are desires that she's always had.
Well,
and that he is the conduit through which she can live them out in real life.
Right. And I was also going to say, not only does he bring the violence into her life, he also brings this sense of womanhood and this new, like, adult sexuality, whatever.
An important thing to know is that every year India's father bought her a new pair of saddle shoes that obviously went up a size every year as she got older. And on her 18th birthday, her father died. Charlie gives her a pair of shoes that are stilettos. They're like these very sexy high heel shoes.
That scene kind of made me cringe, I'm not gonna lie.
I know. I get why, but it's like a pretty obvious metaphor for now you're a woman. These are your woman shoes. You're going to kind of discard your childish saddle shoes and you're going to become a woman.
Is this a good time to cross off incest in our game of...
Oh, absolutely. This has been incestuous.
Okay, yes. Because...
yes, incest is a very prevalent, very common American Gothic trope.
And you'll see it. There's another movie that has incest in the plot line. So I was like, that's why I asked. But I figured now's a good time to cross it off.
Now is definitely a good time to cross it off. So after Charlie's explanation of like why he killed her father, she seems to forgive him and they start to grow closer, obviously in like a not quite appropriate way for an uncle and niece.
Totally. The police come to their house to ask about Whip, and he provides India an alibi for her when he kind of like, she's backed into a corner by the sheriff. She doesn't really have an answer for him. He swoops in, gives him an answer, and kind of they're able to send the sheriff on his way.
Yeah. And Evelyn soon after witnesses India and Charlie in kind of a compromising position and immediately grows incredibly jealous.
Yeah, pretty bad mom.
Yeah, not a great... I mean, throughout, honestly, she's been kind of a terrible mom.
Totally. Later, Evelyn very coldly expresses her desire to watch India suffer before confronting Charlie. And she basically...
I will say, excellent icy Nicole Kidman monologuing.
Yeah.
She's kind of the perfect casting for this role.
She
for
does
like
great.
For like the unemotional, not caring mother. Like she's exactly who should have played this.
Totally.
And she played it very well. And we can also cross off tense dinner table.
Oh my God, yes. Look how many we're crossing off in this. So Evelyn confronts Charlie, and she implies that she knows the truth about Richard's death and that Charlie was institutionalized and kind of his motivations behind going there.
Yeah, which I also will say, she like loved that Charlie was there.
Oh, yeah.
And she very much implies here that the entire time she knew the truth. So it's like, did you just want a man in the house? Like, was that it?
Yeah, I mean, yes. That's kind of what I thought. She gives repressed sexual housewife.
Yeah, no, very much so.
And it works. I mean, Charlie seduces her, and then once again, he tries to strangle her with the belt, but...
Yes. And then, surprise, surprise, India shoots him.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, very unexpected. The whole time, you're kind of... I mean, at least I was, like, hoping for a bit of a team up. But...
I guess I more so thought, like, not a team up, but I thought she would just kind of, like, do her own thing or maybe, like, frame him for all the murders and then just, like, fuck off.
I mean, frame. He did commit most of them.
I was going to say all of them
Yeah.
so far. So, but you know what I mean? Like, I thought she would just take the money and run to New York.
Yeah.
And then kind of do her own thing there and let him, like, pay for the crimes and kind of give her a clean slate. But I was surprised by this ending.
Yeah, so she shoots him, hops in the car, decides she's going to go to New York. She, on the way there, is pulled over by a sheriff, and she stabs him in the neck with a pair of pruning shears. And then he's like bleeding. He runs off, and she pursues him with a rifle. And that's the end of the film.
Yeah, that is the end of the film.
So it really is kind of about her coming into her own sexually. And then because violence is so intrinsic to her sexuality, also as a potential serial killer.
Yes. Olivia, I know that you've seen this movie before, but what are your thoughts?
I mean, I love this movie. It's so much fun. It's just like a fun ass time. I always sell this movie to people as this is what American Psycho is to like finance bros in their late 20s. Stoker is to emo 17-year-olds.
Yeah, that's actually a really good comparison.
Yeah, like
This gives I'm not like other girls, like final boss mode.
absolutely. And when I tell you, I ate this shit up when I was a teenager.
I bet. I could so imagine like you wearing the outfits that India wears and like the shoes and like just like the
I'm taking that as
moody-
such a compliment.
Yeah, no, she eats. Her outfits eat in this movie.
Outfits absolutely eat.
One thing that I don't love about this movie, and this is like a problem with me, is I always hate in movies when women lack the logic, for like lack of a better term, or they choose to ignore logic over desire. And this is a problem with me because this is a big theme in American Gothic and Southern Gothic, like desire, forbidden desire, temptation, just the underlying like tension of sex and stuff like that. That is all such a prominent thing in this genre. But I just get annoyed, I think, just because that is a trope or that is a plot point or whatever you want to call it.
You find it regressive.
I do. I find it really regressive because women are so often told that like they think too emotionally, it's their desire, it's their womanly desires that get in the way. Whereas all the women that I know think with logic and men think with their dicks. So it is so frustrating to see so many women or so many female characters throw aside like impending danger right in front of them because the desire is just so great. And I don't speak about India when I speak about these things because India's whole thing is like she is the one in charge. She is the predator. She is the danger. I'm more so talking about Evelyn's character in this scenario, but in this genre of Southern Gothic, it's such a thing. And I'm just like, no.
And I do get it, but I almost feel like Stoker specifically is like a subversion of that trope.
That's a good point, I guess.
like I at least that's how I saw it. But I kind of do agree with you in general, though. Like, I get what you're saying, where there are far too many films where, yeah, female characters are just, like, kind of at the mercy of whoever they're interested in and seem to just, like, all critical thought and logic just go out the window.
Yeah, I guess it's just so frustrating because, again, in real life, like, no woman would ever act like that.
No, I don't think I've ever seen, and maybe I've seen it once, but like once.
Right. But you know what I mean, where it's like,
and you know who I'm talking about too.
Yes. But like, you know what I mean, where it's like women usually think with logic, especially when it comes to situation with men.
Yeah.
Where men think with desire and logic kind of takes a back seat. But
I think you definitely have a point there.
I digress.
So what's your overall rating? Like, what would you rate?
Overall, I think I would give this movie a 6.5 out of 10. I think if I had seen it in my middle school, early high school era, it would have been like a full 10 out of 10 and probably would have shaped my adolescence a lot more. Watching it as an adult, I really liked it. But I think you're right where it's like this movie is made to be watched by like emo 14, 15-year-old teenage girls.
Yeah, like even Chan-wook Park himself has like described Stoker as a coming of age movie.
Totally.
Like this movie is best enjoyed by teenage girls and this is for teenage girls. I think I actually completely agree with your rating. I would also give it a 6.5, but I'm going to bump it to a 7 because of nostalgia.
All right, our next movie is 1955, The Night of the Hunter.
I loved this one.
I am so happy you liked it.
This was such a surprise. Like
this was my recommendation, you guys.
Yes, it was. And when I tell Maggie, this is your best rec so far.
Thank you.
I loved this. I absolutely loved this.
This is like I wouldn't say it's a classic, but it is like
I would say it's a classic.
It is like if you want to know what Southern Gothic is, like watch this movie.
This was definitely the first I would probably argue the first film that like really explored the American Gothic genre.
Totally. So it was directed by Charles Lawton, and it was written by James Agee, I hope I'm saying that right, and Davis Grubb, who wrote the book, which I didn't know it was a book. I really want to read the book now.
Same. Yeah. I feel like it's definitely a pretty decent book.
Totally. So the movie opens with Harry Powell. He is a serial killer and he's posing as a preacher. He is driving into town with a stolen car, and while he's driving, he kind of has this conversation with God about his previous murders. It's a very exposition-filled car ride. Harry is played by Robert Mitchum.
So good in this.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was him.
Me neither.
The opening credits, I was like, Robert Mitchum? Who the fuck is he in this movie? And then he showed up.
So good in this.
He's terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying. And apparently, I read that there was some concern prior to casting him about whether or not he would be too sexy for the role. I don't think they had to be worried, honestly.
He's
like a decent looking guy. Like, I mean, he's an actor. He's a good looking guy, but like, I wouldn't say that he played him sexy.
No, in fact, he plays him so fucking scary.
Yeah,
it almost makes him unattractive.
He's like genuinely so kind of skin crawling in this.
Yeah, you described him earlier as the boogeyman, and I was like, what a perfect, like my skin, I just got goosebumps because he freaks me out that much.
He is the boogeyman in this movie, and like so much, both in visually, costuming, sound design, like paints him as this larger than life, like devil on earth.
Yeah, it's terrifying the way he moves through this movie. So his whole act is he finds lonely widows, seduces them, and then kills them and steals their money. So he is quickly caught for stealing this car, and he is sentenced to 30 days in the local jail. At the same time as this is happening with Harry Powell, Ben Harper has just robbed a bank and in the process killed 2 men. His children, John and Pearl, are playing outside where their father runs up, and they help him hide the $10,000 they stole, which I looked it up. That's like almost $120,000 today.
I think it's more.
So Ben tells his children that it's their money. That's the reason why he stole it, so they could live a good life.
Yeah, and he makes them swear to never tell anybody where it is.
Yes. he's arrested in front of his children, hauled off to jail, and he is sentenced to death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty extreme.
Well, it's so funny because when I was watching this movie, they say that he robs a bank, and I was like, wait, so the one guy stole a car and gets 30 days in jail. The other guy stole money and gets sentenced to death. How does that make sense? But then they reveal later on he killed 2 men.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense. In prison, he actually ends up sharing a cell with Powell.
Yes.
And
the
Powell,
serial killer fake preacher.
yes, Powell tries to trick Ben into telling him where the money is. He's unsuccessful. Ben is hanged, and Powell gets released from prison and immediately goes to find Ben's family because he wants that 10 grand.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you left a widow behind and a pile of money? Me, please. Like,
yeah, he's like, that's actually my forte.
Yeah, no, literally. You actually kind of set this up perfectly for
Yeah.
me. So Powell is released from prison, immediately goes to Ben's hometown and meets his widow, Willa, and kind of charms the whole town. Like, he charms all of Willa's coworkers and her, very much by like using his authority as a preacher to seem like this moral superior to everybody.
Yeah, he's kind of like seen as this like hot, because all the like women find him hot, like this hot, good-natured man of God.
Yes.
So he is like the perfect package in this small southern town.
Oh, everybody is like all up on Willa, telling her like, you have to secure this, like lock this down. You cannot in 1955 raise 2 kids alone.
Yeah, and Willa is like, yeah, let's do it.
Oh yeah, Willa's down.
Yeah, she is so into it. Everyone's kind of into it. The only one who's not into it is John. John very quickly can see through Powell's bullshit.
Yes, and John is Ben and Willa's son,
yes,
their eldest son.
Yeah, he sees that Powell wants only the money. He doesn't care about the town or his mother or his sister or himself.
Yeah, also because like whenever Willa walks away for a moment, Powell is questioning the kids about where the money is.
Oh yeah, he's like, I bet you know where that money is. Why wouldn't your father tell you where the money is? Like, he literally never shuts up about it.
Yeah, and I guess he just doesn't think too highly. He either thinks really highly of his own charisma and persuasion abilities, or thinks really low of children, because like he does not hide his intentions to the children at all.
Yeah, no. And Pearl, the younger sibling, is just a little too young to understand what's happening at first. But John is old enough to kind of, again, smell the bullshit.
Yeah. What is really interesting and unique about this film is the very overt German expressionist influences. German expressionism is a major art movement in both film and art of the early 20th century. And it really put an emphasis on like inner emotions and inner turmoil and less on the reality of life. Mm-hmm. So some really influential German expressionist films are the original Nosferatu, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, other films that I haven't heard of. But, I only know the famous ones.
Yeah.
And German expressionism is characterized by like overly stylized sets, very dramatic lighting, unconventional camera angles, very sharp angles, very bright colors. This film is in black and white, but it has pretty much every staple of German expressionism used except for color. This genuinely has some of the most stunning black and white shots I've ever seen.
Yeah, this movie, the visuals are just so like almost like surrealist in a way. They are. They're gorgeous. They're scary.
They are.
This movie, like the visuals are what gives me the goosebumps. And like you said earlier, they really help Powell seem like this like almost like figure rather than like a human man.
He's like a reaper. He's a boogeyman. And so much of the film really emphasizes how the children see him. Mm-hmm. Which is as this towering, larger than life like entity in a black suit and a wide brimmed hat.
Anyone who wants to be like a cinematographer or a DP one day, like watch this movie.
It's a must watch.
Totally. So Willa and Powell marry, and he, on their honeymoon, very quickly goes from loving, swooning, fiance, boyfriend, whatever you want to call him, to stone cold preacher man.
Yes, he refuses to consummate his marriage to her in what I can only describe as like he prefers being cruel over like having sex. Like he's more interested in seeing how cruel he can be to this woman rather than like, and that overrides his sexual interest in her.
Yeah, I also think we see in the movie him talking to God, and like I think there's part of him that thinks he like really is like doing a godly thing.
I feel like he was so manipulative in that scene, though.
Oh, he is.
Like
he's a snake.
There's a scene where he rebuffs her and
he makes her feel bad.
It is genuinely one of the hardest things I've watched in quite some time. He is so cruel to her, basically saying that a woman has no place desiring a man, and that not only should she not desire him, she should be so ashamed of the fact that she maybe does.
Yeah, and she eats it right up. I mean, she deludes herself into thinking that Pal married her in order to redeem her soul, that she drove a man to murder and she is sin, but she was saved by this holy man of God.
Yeah.
And I was like, girl, stand up. First of all, worst mother I've ever seen in a movie. She does not give a fuck about her 2 children.
No, out of these 3 films, she's probably the worst mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
She has the youngest children and like could not give less of a shit about
Picks
them.
a man over them easily.
So fast.
Yeah.
Like they try to tell her like, hey, he keeps asking about the money. And she's like, well, you're a liar.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she basically becomes like a Jesus freak. Like she
Yeah.
goes like preaching with him about how she was a sinner and he saved her, even though he fucking was like gonna kill her and steal her money.
So she only like believes the kids who are saying like, hey, literally every time you're not home, he's like questioning us about the money.
He's basically threatening them.
Yeah. And the only time she believes them is when she literally overhears it for herself.
Yeah.
She very kind of tactfully confronts him about it in a very subtle way. He's not having any of that and murders her.
Yeah. Kills her in cold blood and then ties her body to her car and sinks it in the river. And he kind of plays it off like she has run off with another man and now he is heartbroken, but he will continue to take care of her children because that's what he promised to do. Mm-hmm. So it's all manipulation at its finest.
Yeah. And this neighborhood guy who lives in a houseboat is like out fishing one day and sees her body like in her sunken car in the river. Mm-hmm. And he's like too scared to go to the police because he's like this kind of poor weirdo in the community. And he's like, they're gonna frame me. There's a visual of her corpse in the car underwater that is, when I tell you, I actually rewinded because I wanted to see it again. It's one of the most haunting
but beautiful
visuals I've maybe ever seen.
Yeah, it could be a painting.
It like, really could be. I wish they hold on it for a few seconds. I wish they held on it longer. And apparently this was this director's first and only film.
Really?
Because it didn't do that well on release.
Okay.
It was 1955. They didn't get it. The movie has since gotten the critical acclaim it deserves.
Well, also, this movie is amazing.
No, but the bad reception of the film is what discouraged the director from making another film.
That sucks because for a first-time film,
he
crazy.
was so ahead of his time.
Totally.
Like, they just didn't understand it.
I will say, though, some of Robert Mitchum aside, he's amazing. But some of the acting in this movie, especially like they're kids, so I have to excuse it. But like the 2 main child actors,
They could have been a bit better.
Oh, they could have been a lot better. Let's be honest. They're old enough now to know. It's just hard because the 2 kids are the heart of the movie. Mm-hmm. So like, I think this movie would win a full 10 out of 10 had they been like really strong actors.
I actually kind of agree with you. Yeah. I agree.
So yes, Willa is murdered and Pal threatens to kill John when they refuse to give up the money still.
Pearl, like has a knife to his neck. And Pearl, who's a little girl, she's like 5, is like bawling, crying, and doesn't want her big brother to die. So tells Powell that the money has been hidden the entire time in the doll that she carries around with her everywhere.
I can't decide if that's a great hiding spot or a terrible hiding spot.
I feel like it's really bad because just like knowing myself as a kid, I definitely would have left that doll somewhere.
Left that doll somewhere, or like earlier in the movie, she takes out the money and like it's like all over the ground. And luckily they put it away before Powell can see. But like, I was like, oh my God, how would you trust the 5-year-old not to be like, oops, I lost it?
Yeah, just bury the money like in every other movie ever.
Right, exactly. Pearl reveals the money is inside her doll. Powell, before he can grab it, the children escape and they run away from Powell using their father's old sailboat that's kind of like hidden on the side of the river.
It's like a little dinghy and they escape down the river. And this is my favorite sequence in the film.
Yeah.
Is them riding in this little dinghy down the river. And then because the movie does lean into the German expressionist, surrealist visuals, there are scenes where you see them in the river, them going down the river in the foreground, and then in the background you see the silhouette of Powell on a horse riding alongside them. And it's so eerie. It's
haunting.
It's so haunting because it like he is this boogeyman that they can't escape from. Mm-hmm. And that visual really underscores this thing of like no matter how far you go, he's always right behind you. John and Pearl eventually like dock the boat and they are found very serendipitously by this old lady, Mrs. Cooper, who basically just like takes in orphaned or abandoned children.
Yeah, it's like foster care before that was like
essentially
really a thing.
But it's just like out of the kindness of her heart. Like she's just like a really nice lady.
She is, which is also no bullshit. Like
no, she's the best.
She literally like gets John and Pearl off the boat and then she like takes the like stick and starts like whipping them. She's like, all right, let's go. Like it's pretty insane.
She's no nonsense, but like she cares.
Yeah, she totally does.
And she is giving these kids like safety and a shelter and a home and like does love them.
Powell eventually finds where they're hiding. He goes to the house and he pretends that he is John and Pearl's father. However, earlier we see John tell Mrs. Cooper that both of his parents are dead. So she already knows some shit is up when he starts giving this like sob story. And it's kind of fun to watch because he's doing his usual shtick that like the whole town fell for.
Yeah, like it works on everyone.
And she immediately doesn't care. Like
yeah.
She interrupts his whole monologue and she's like, so why are you here? So what, you left your kids? What does that even mean? Like, why would you do that?
It's so good because the whole movie you're waiting for someone to question him and no one does.
Yeah, because they're all just so charmed.
And then like finally she does and it's like, yes, thank you.
Yeah. Because
for a moment they kind of tease that maybe she's falling for it, but pretty right away they do away with that.
Yeah. Powell tries to go after John and the doll, and Miss Cooper pulls out a shotgun and says, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And he promises to come back that night, kind of in anger, and yes, he does. And this scene freaked me out so bad. It's
eerie.
This was like almost like I need to sleep with the light on as a 24-year-old. There's a really great like sequence of images where like Mrs. Cooper is sitting with her shotgun on the porch and you can see Powell just outside the house waiting for them to fall asleep, let their guard down, whatever you want to call it. And they're both singing this like hymn.
Yeah.
And it's so haunting. Like the lighting and the way they shot it is so freaky.
It is. And throughout the whole film, they use diegetic music in a really interesting way. Mm-hmm. Like characters who hum to themselves or sing songs to themselves are very kind of commonplace throughout. And every time they do it, when a character's humming or singing and they kind of make that the music of the like they kind of score the scene with that. Mm-hmm. It's always so good.
It's so scary.
It's eerie. It's scary. Like when Powell's first coming to town and he's like humming to himself and then he's this big imposing presence over the town. It's like, oh my God. It's just like, I don't know. The diegetic music is always really great. I'm not going to lie. I didn't love the actual orchestral score.
I can't even remember what it sounded like. It was so forgettable. When that one girl walks up with the candle and you can, like, he kind of gets washed out of the light and you can just barely see him and you see him duck down. Oh my God, it freaked me out. I was like, where'd he go? Is this also a good time to check off psychological terror?
Yes, I also think we can definitely check off destruction of the family unit.
Oh, totally.
We could have checked that off with Stoker too.
Yes, but this movie I think really tears it apart. Like, father is dead, mother is dead / doesn't care.
We can also check off religious puritanism / religious guilt. Powell's character is such a statement against those who use religion to justify their wrongs or to position themselves as like a holier than thou person. Like, this movie is really saying this is who you are underneath that. Like, you're a manipulative asshole who's only using religion and using the church to like further what you want. And they really juxtapose him with someone like Mrs. Cooper,
right,
who is a Christian, but she does kind things out of the kindness of her heart. She's not shoving in everyone's face the fact that she's holy. She just exists in a holy way because she lives a pure, kind life.
Yeah, that's actually a really great point. And I think they're supposed to kind of be foils of each other.
Definitely.
Back to the night that Powell returns, he ducks out of sight and the family kind of gathers up. Powell breaks in. He tries to attack. Mrs. Cooper shoots him in the arm with the shotgun and he kind of scurries off into the barn wounded while she calls the police. The police show up and arrest Powell. They've now discovered that he's at least murdered Willa and they're pretty hot on his trail of discovering his other murders. He is arrested right in front of the children and John kind of like breaks down having this like flashback from his father's arrest.
Yeah, the way that they arrest Powell is very visually reminiscent of how they arrested John's father. And John, I actually found this very sad. Like this really did emotionally affect me when I watched this. John starts beating Powell with his sister's doll and the money starts flying everywhere and John's crying and going, I don't want it. I don't want it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, like what kind of responsibility is that for a kid? And it's all the danger that they faced is because their father made them responsible for this money.
Yeah.
And it really does kind of hammer home the fact that, oh my, like this is so much for a kid. And these are young children.
Yeah. John can't be older than like 10 years old. And
No.
that's like, honestly, he's probably closer to like 8.
8 or 9, definitely. And Pearl's like 5.
Yeah.
And it really is like, oh my God, yeah. Like what have these children went through simply because they were burdened with knowledge?
I would argue John goes through most of it. Because again,
Same.
Pearl's so young, she like doesn't really understand what's happening. But you're right. Like the danger, their father's death, their mother's death, they are now alone. Like it is a heavy burden. I will admit though, when he started beating the money, I was like, put it back in. Like fucking
Same.
I was like, oh my God.
Does that just show that we're cheap?
Like, yes. Yeah. It was giving me like Dancer in the Dark flashbacks where we were talking about like who gets the money. And I was like, please don't let no one get that fucking money because we went through so much to get it. So Powell's arrested, and during his trial, John cannot bring himself to testify against him. Powell is then sentenced to hang.
Honestly, I get like it's about how we shouldn't put these adult responsibilities onto children.
Yeah, I don't really even know why they need John to testify, as opposed like the only thing he witnessed him do is like threaten him about the money and try to kill them, but he didn't witness his mother's murder. He has no fucking idea.
True.
So, but I get what you're saying, where it's like
it's about the whole film's kind of about that children shouldn't be responsible for the actions of adults. In the moment, I didn't love that John refused to testify against him. Like I wanted a more satisfying ending.
totally.
But also it's 1955. It's the Hays Code. They have to have some sort of like happy, neat little bow put on the end of a film.
Which is exactly what they do. The film ends with John and Pearl spending Christmas with Mrs. Cooper and her kind of like group of stray children. I actually found this very sweet when
It was sweet. It was just like very convenient and a very
Totally.
like kind of out of place ending for a very dark film.
Yeah, I wish the movie, especially the other two movies we watched, had very like unsettling endings that kind of left this like weird feeling in the pit of your stomach.
Yeah.
And this movie was, I would argue, the scariest of all three.
I would say this is definitely the most like chilling of the movies we
So
watched.
yeah, I wish that there was kind of more of that unsettling kind of like horror movie kind of ending where it had very much the opposite. It almost had like a It's a Wonderful Life type ending where everyone's like singing and kissing and
Well, that's it. It felt like it just turned into an It's a Wonderful Life kind of thing at the end, which felt so out of place.
it's a Christmas movie, you guys. I'm kidding. Yeah, it literally ends with Mrs. Cooper monologuing about like children enduring and like how they shouldn't have to be put like the burdens of adults or the issues that adults have. And
Which is fine, fair, cool with that. But it's like, did we have to put like the happy little Christmas scene? Like, why couldn't we end it on John like in tears, refusing to testify at the trial? Like, why not just end it there?
it's so fucked up that we like want an ending like that. But like, I kind of agree with you. It's like, why can't we end with like Pal kind of giving them one last like boogeyman look?
Right? But it's not even like a more fucked up ending. I want a tonally consistent ending.
Totally. The ending literally feels like, which with
I
this
felt like
period,
bamboozled by cheerfulness. I don't like that.
well, with this period of filmmaking, there are so many movies, like more than you can count, that had original endings and original scenes, and they literally like, you know, MGM would like call up the filmmakers and be like, hey, reshoot a different ending with a different message because we can't sell that.
Yeah.
Like there's so many Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, Baby
Don't
Face,
even get
like,
me started.
So many, guys. It's actually a really interesting like rabbit hole if you are like a film nerd.
Oh yeah, Hays Code era is crazy. Like it is genuinely fascinating if you're interested in film at all.
But yeah, so Olivia, what would you rate this film?
8. I'd go, yeah, definitely 8. Would be a 9 if not for the tonally inconsistent ending.
Yeah, I would say this movie is like 7.58 out of 10 for me.
Valid.
I'm going to make a really controversial point, and I am 50-50 on my own opinion on this.
Okay.
So I think this movie would, and I say this purely because Nosferatu, the remake, is so great.
Stop. Maggie, I had this in my, I literally had this in my notes. I have this in my notes.
Oh my God.
This is a film that I think would actually benefit from a remake.
Yes, I think we have the talent, especially in like child actors today. Like we have
Yes.
the talent to make the acting. I mean, the acting's good in it, but like we have the talent today to make this acting like insane.
Yeah.
We have seen it again in Nosferatu where we can have a more updated version with like the same type of expressionism and surrealism and like all this stuff.
Exactly. With added color and added characterization.
Right.
Like I really feel like this movie would benefit from like a little extra time put into the characters and to the dialogue and to the world. I really think this Night of the Hunter it's a great film that I think would benefit from a remake because it would introduce this story to a new generation.
And it would also bring the Southern Gothic like right into the mainstream. I feel like
Right?
I feel like we haven't really seen it in recent films.
At all. We've been lacking in the American Gothic area
Totally.
because Nosferatu is Gothic,
Totally.
yeah, not American Gothic.
It's so funny that we had the exact same thought.
Are you kidding? That was one of my first thoughts when I finished the movie is like, this is the type of movie that would really benefit from a remake.
And like so underrated. Like not a lot of people know the original movie. So it's not like it's like you're remaking a classic, like don't touch it.
no, like listen, film people love this movie.
Totally.
But outside of the like film lover community, most people don't know about Night of the Hunter.
Not at all.
And I think that there are some great directors out there who could really do this story justice and like make it and modernize it in an interesting way.
Yeah.
Our third and final film that we watched this week is Eve's Bayou, directed by Casey Lemons. It came out in 1997. This was a first watch for me. This is one of those movies that it's been on my list for like years. Like I've been meaning to watch it for so long.
Okay.
And I'm really happy I finally did this week because it's a really good movie.
I had never heard of it. I'd never even known it existed. So when we wanted to watch it for the podcast, I was like, okay. And I was pleasantly surprised. I liked it too. The film opens with our main character basically telling us what is going to happen in this movie, that she kills her father.
Yeah. What a badass opening line.
Yeah.
The film opens with the line, I was 10 years old when I killed my father. And I was sad.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, let's go. Let's see.
Yeah. Sometimes when movies do that, I don't like it because then I'm just waiting for that moment to happen. But I think this movie did a really great job of building what is going to lead us to that happening.
Exactly. And also just want to note briefly for the podcast, this is our first female directed film that we're reviewing.
That's sad, honestly, that
I
we're on
know.
episode 4.
I mean, yeah, I guess so. I do feel like it is more circumstance than anything, though.
I guess, but like think about
Because
it.
we're
We've done
doing, like-
3 an episode. Like we've been through a lot of movies so far already.
have. Yeah.
We need more female filmmakers, that's for sure.
We got to the Europeans before we got to women. Isn't
Wow.
that sad?
Yeah, that actually really depresses me. So the movie opens on a house party. We're in the 1960s. Eve Batiste, who's our main character, she's 10 years old, lives in this Creole American community of Eve's Bayou, which is in Louisiana. She's there with her younger brother, Poe, and her older sister, Cicely. And her parents are Roz and Louis. And Louis, who's played by Sam Jackson. I was surprised to see him in this movie.
That was the only thing I knew about this movie, is that Sam Jackson was in it.
Yeah.
And I love him.
So at this party that their family is hosting, Eve kind of like runs off to their shed, falls asleep, and she discovers her father having an affair with this family friend named Maddie Moreau.
Yeah. Eve is obviously very disturbed by seeing this, and she tells her older sister, Cecily. Cecily is not hearing any of it. She immediately tells Eve that you misunderstood what you saw. It wasn't actually dad having an affair.
Yeah, she gaslights girl bosses
her
pretty hard.
This scene was genuinely quite devastating. The kid actors are so good in this scene.
Yes.
The girl who plays Eve, Journey Smollett, really captures that feeling of when you're a child and you discover something like that about a parent, your whole world is ripped out from under you. And her panic and her tearfulness and her like devastation so evokes that feeling of like, what if your entire vision of the world was just destroyed in a day?
Yeah, she does a great job because Eve loves her father. We see this at the party. She loves him. She adores him. They're very close.
And her father is also like incredibly well respected in their community. Like,
yes, he's a good guy.
And we actually overhear someone at the party talking about that he's the best black doctor in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Like that is how kind of highly considered he is. Like he is a bastion of this community.
Yes, and I love how what you were saying earlier with Journey's performance is you can see like she almost feels like she's like betraying her father in the way that now she sees him as a bad person. Like you can see the guilt she feels.
It's one of those things where now that she's seen it once, she is now attuned to all the signs of his infidelity, and he is a serial philanderer.
Oh yeah, she goes on like house calls with him one day, and it is literally like it's
some of his
comical.
house calls are like fronts for him to have affairs.
Yeah, I mean, these women are like basically like laying out in their lingerie and they're like, "Doctor, I don't feel so good." And he literally like he almost winks at his daughter and then shuts the door and starts banging these women.
This is a man with no shame, and that's the thing, is he has the confidence that his reputation and his wife will uphold their family's honor. So basically he doesn't have to do anything. He can carry on his affairs in broad daylight.
Yeah.
And it's like pretty nauseating.
Yeah. So Louis spends more and more time outside of the house. This creates a big conflict between him and Eve's mother, Roz. And Roz is very not aware of what's going on, but she's
growing aware of what's going on as the film goes on. But she is a lady, and she very much prides herself on they're like a very bourgeois family.
Yes.
She very much prides herself on being a lady. So kind of slowly realizing that she can't deny his affairs anymore, that it's getting too obvious, like he's never home, is like really quite sad. It's really quite sad to watch, and she is clearly having a really hard time reconciling who she is as a woman and as a wife to who she married.
Yeah. So throughout the entire film, Eve seeks refuge with her Aunt Moselle.
She is a hoodoo practitioner and a spiritual advisor, and she has a neighborhood reputation as being a black widow because all of her husbands have died untimely deaths.
Yeah, it's also important to note that, and again, we kind of see this throughout the film, but Eve kind of has this same sixth sense, spiritual sense as her aunt. And we see these in these like black and white flashes of visions that they have. And I really like this. This is like a really cool, I don't know, as like a filmmaker, it's giving like indie filmmaking in like
Very
a really
much.
great way.
Yeah. The voodoo and the magic in the movie is really interesting because it's never quite entirely confirmed nor denied.
Yes, there's a character that we'll probably say later, but there's a like voodoo witch character, and a lot of it is like, does she actually have some sort of power, or is this more so like what we're seeing from Eve's perspective, where she, like how in Night of the Hunter, the children viewed Powell as this like big bad wolf. Eve is seeing the voodoo woman as this like witch when she's really just kind of like this woman.
I mean, is she?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, we don't know.
Eve's sister Cicely starts coming into conflict more often with her sister Eve and their mother as she enters puberty and tries to like navigate the transition to adulthood. She starts like going to the salon and getting her hair done and wearing more ladylike dresses, and their mom is like not having it. She's like, I mean, I think as all mothers are, she's very hesitant to see her little girl turn into a woman, and her little girl is incredibly defiant about her new hairstyle. Cicely gets her period, and when this happens, she like completely isolates herself from the family. Like, no one knows what's going on. Everyone knows that something's wrong with her, but no one quite knows exactly what. They find out that she has her period, but even then, she still will not speak to anybody. Like, she's being really moody. She's like holding herself out in her room. Eve especially is like very disturbed seeing her sister this way.
Yeah, first of all, I have to brag for a second. I clocked that was not the thing she was really that upset about. Because
fair enough, I didn't.
Well, because I was like, when you're going through that time in your life, you seek comfort in other women or with people who can somewhat relate to what you're going through.
Yeah.
So the fact that Cicely, when she is going through something like getting her period, which is something that like all girls go through, she literally like reacts like a feral dog and refuses to talk to her mother, anyone. And she's very embarrassed when her dad comes. Her dad's a doctor. Like, she's very embarrassed and doesn't want him near her. And so I was like, I literally wrote in my notes. I was like, is it really just her period that's bothering her?
I mean, okay, two things about this. One, I really loved her mother expresses at some point, like, oh, she didn't even tell me she was on her period, and seems like very hurt by that. And I feel like that's like a real thing. Like, that's her daughter. This is kind of a uniquely female experience, and the fact that she didn't share that with her is like deeply hurtful to her.
Yeah.
And I completely understand where she's coming from. Also, when her father is trying to see how his daughter is and she's refusing to speak to him, he says like, well, there's like, if you want to talk to a lady doctor, I know a lady doctor you can go to. In 1960?
Yeah. I want that name.
No, really. I was like, there is. Cicely later confides in Eve that the reason she's been so reclusive and wants to move out of the house and in with their grandmother is actually, it's not because of her period. It's because one night after their parents had had an argument about their father being out all the time, maybe seeing other women, Cicely went to comfort him and he attempted to molest her. But yeah, she like tearfully confides this to Eve, and this is clearly something that has been very disturbing to her and like is the reason that she's been acting out so much, like with their mother, and then once she got her period, like isolating herself.
Eve is outraged by this, and throughout this movie, Eve has kind of slowly been losing her trust in her father, and there's been a lot of disdain towards him based on like so many things that happen with her mother, with her sister. It's causing a lot of tension in the household, and this is kind of the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Yeah, this is very much the climax of the film. And I will say, I really liked how Eve's coming of age is framed around her realizing the fallibility of the adults in her life.
I feel like we could have crossed it off way earlier, but I feel like this is a good time to cross off moral decay on our bingo board.
We could have crossed off moral decay with Stoker.
Oh, totally, totally. But just something about us talking about the father's infidelity, I was like, we've talked way too much about moral decay throughout this entire episode, and I feel like if we don't do it now, we'll never do it.
Exactly.
So Eve runs to a fortune teller, voodoo woman, witch, whatever you want to call her, and she basically commissions her to put a voodoo spell / death curse on her father. She is like literally like, I want someone dead and I want you to do it. And the witch is like, all right, sure.
Yes. Also important to note that on her way to go visit the witch, she runs into Lenny Moreau, who is married to Maddie Moreau, who is one of her father's paramours.
Yes.
When Eve runs into Lenny, she basically like insinuates to him that her dad is having an affair with his wife.
Yeah, she gives him a look like, buddy.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, your job takes you away from home all the time.
Yeah.
Like, that is the conversation that they have.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, your wife must be lonely, just like my dad's lonely. Hint, hint.
And yeah, Lenny walks away from that conversation pretty certain that his wife is cheating on him. So yeah, the witch is pretty hesitant to put like a killing curse on Eve's father, but ends up doing it.
Yeah, Eve steals like $20 from her mom and like gives it to the witch. And so she's just kind of like, all right, if you really want this, like,
and you want to give me that $20, like,
yeah,
I can.
Yeah. But she does kind of like tell Eve, once you do this, it can't be taken back.
Yeah. And of course, once the curse is put on her father and she realizes it can't be taken back, Eve, like any impulsive 10-year-old girl, is immediately regretful and panicked.
Right.
And I will say again, Journey Smollett, brilliant.
Yeah, it's such a great scene. She basically like starts freaking out on the witch because she wanted to be the one to hurt her father in the way that she feels her father has hurt her so much. And when she realizes that it's not just like sticking pins in her doll,
she was assuming that the witch would give her a voodoo doll that like she could control the fate of her father.
Right.
And when the witch is like, no, like it's like a totally separate curse, like no voodoo dolls involved, she really freaks out.
Eve runs to find her father in a bar chatting with Maddie Moreau. And I did kind of giggle at the scene because Maddie Moreau, who's like a grown woman, is like, oh, this bitch. Like, she, to the daughter, like, she is like treating her like the biggest cock block. And it's like, girl, have some shame. Like,
have some shame. You're literally having an affair. The person you're having an affair with's daughter just caught you, and you have the audacity to be annoyed.
Yeah, she literally like rolls her eyes and is like, is this gonna take long? And it's like, yes, it will actually.
In that moment, I decided I hated her.
Yeah.
And especially because Eve's mom and Louis's wife is really shown to be like a caring, considerate, lovely woman who's
totally
obviously going through a lot of heartache because she's realizing her husband's having these affairs. But the question of like, whether she drove her husband into these other women's arms, like, really is never even brought up. It is very much he is a philanderer. She is a lovely wife who is kind of being neglected.
Totally. So while Eve is trying to get her father away from potential danger out of this bar, a drunk Lenny Moreau shows up to take Maddie home. There's a strong confrontation between the men, and Lenny tells Louis that, is it Louis or Louis?
I say Louis because in the movie they called him Louis.
Okay, well, oops, because I've been saying Louis, but it's all right.
I think I've probably said Louis too a few times. You're good.
So Lenny tells Louis that he will kill him if he ever speaks to Maddie again. And of course, Louis kind of like, I think Sam Jackson does a good job showing how Louis like really doesn't think he's doing anything wrong.
No, and it's also like he's the best black doctor in Louisiana.
Yeah, he's this well-respected man.
Everyone
rich man.
respects him. He's like the richest guy in town. He can do no wrong.
Yeah.
So it's that like arrogance
Yeah.
that fuels him to turn to Maddie and say goodbye.
Lenny turns right around, pulls out a gun, and shoots Louis.
Yes.
In front of Eve.
Yeah. And this kind of does raise the question of, is the voodoo spell real? Or did Louis' affairs and like the consequences of his affairs come back to haunt him?
Did it catch up with him?
But then either way, Eve holds a level of responsibility because she was the one to inform Lenny of his wife's affair with her dad.
Yeah, but I guess the question is like, if his father never had an affair, or if her father never had an affair,
clearly.
like, you know, there'd be nothing to tell. They have a funeral for Louis, and at her father's funeral, Eve finds a letter. A lot of finding letters in these movies that we've watched.
I mean, Southern Gothic, American Gothic, I guess texting doesn't really fit the aesthetic.
Yeah, no, you can't like pull out an iPhone. It's not really the same.
Also 1960.
I was literally about to say that.
That's fair. It is the only form of correspondence.
Yeah. Eve finds a letter which her father wrote to Moselle where he basically like disputes Cicely's accusations of him trying to attack her. Instead, it's he claims that Cicely had come to him that night and kissed him first as a daughter would kiss her father, and then in a much more mature way. And he freaks out and
rebuffs
pushes
her.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And it makes her angry with him. She storms off, and he expresses his guilt and his regret in that moment to Moselle.
Eve confronts her sister Cicely about this and uses her gift of second sight to see flashes of Cicely's memory of that night, which does a little bit kind of reinforce what Louis wrote in his letter. And the film ends with the sisters holding hands, united, gazing into the sunset with this kind of terrible knowledge.
Yes, they also bury the letter that Louis wrote to Moselle, and they throw it in the river. So
yeah. Either way, what happened to Cecily was traumatic for her. The movie ends on the kind of question of like, did he molest her or was Cicely the aggressor in the situation? And it really just is like, well, either way, why would a daughter think it was appropriate to touch her father like that?
Yeah, it's one of those things where Cicely expresses when Eve uses her gift of second sight. She's like, well, he hurt me. And I think she's honest in the way where it's like, whether it's physically in the way in Cicely's mind the attack happened, or whether it's emotionally of being rejected. And this is one of those things where it's like, that is so strong in American Gothic and Southern Gothic is like this very wrong sexual kind of like undertone where it's in so many different sense. Like, I mean, again, we crossed off incest for a reason.
American Gothic and Gothic fiction in general is very concerned with kind of like the perversity of the normal. Like, it is these like how to make the average perverse in some way.
So when you ask the question like, well, what would make her come on to her father, I almost kind of, I hate to be like, well, that's just how it is in these kind of stories, but like it is one of those things where it's like, is it that weird to see in this genre? I mean, the first
In the
movie we
gen-
watched
in
was
the genre, fine, but we never get any sort of. We don't get enough characterization on Louis's part or on Cecily's part to understand the characters enough to know who is the aggressor.
Yeah,
It just does.
guess.
And for such a character-driven movie, you do have to wonder, like, why would she think that's okay? Like, what about his actions towards her would make her think that that's okay?
I mean, maybe you could argue that it's his actions towards other women.
I think so.
Like, who
but then
knows?
it's like, why are you being so flagrant about your affairs in front of your children? Which he is throughout the entire film. He is shameless.
There is no hiding this secret. No. So, yeah, I mean, that is one of the questions. I agree with you, though. I think it would have been nice to see maybe one extra scene of Cicely kind of like struggling with her adolescence, or maybe struggling with this kind of newfound sexual interest, and she doesn't really know how to channel that, because we see that a little bit in Stoker, like we talked about earlier.
I guess I would have liked to have seen, like, how does Cicely interact with other men that aren't her father? I feel like that would have
helped us a lot more with this plot point,
and given it a bit more color about how she's handling her coming of age and what are the things about her growing up that she's struggling with, what that would lead her to do this.
Yeah. I mean, we also have to remember we're in Eve's perspective in this movie.
That is
and
true.
It could just be like, this is how Eve sees it, and we'll never know.
That's true. And like a massive theme throughout the film is like the faultiness of memory, and how memory and like how memories can be rearranged and reconstrued depending on what you want to believe.
I do have to bring up, just in this, the ending narration, she is spitting. The line she has, the truth changes color depending on the light.
Yes.
That is a Kendrick Lamar lyric.
Literally. I actually wouldn't be shocked.
No, like that, she is spitting at the end. But you're right. It adds to this whole idea of the movie with memory is faulty. Can we really believe
like
what our brain remembers?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can we trust our own memory?
I couldn't.
I know I can't.
Yeah. I can barely remember what I did this morning. Like, so overall thoughts and rating?
I really liked it. Again, I feel like if anything, I would want to see this world expanded. Like, I want to know more about the family. Visually, very good. Would I say it like blew me away? No, but it was good. It very pretty film. Obsessed with the house. I love Louisiana architecture, and specifically Louisiana architecture. And this was the most gorgeous, idyllic, like swamp Louisiana mansion that just, it was my literally my dream house. 6.57 out of 10. Like, it's a really good movie. I don't know if I'm going to return to it anytime soon, but I'll probably watch it again in my lifetime, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it a second time.
I have to agree with you. I think I'd probably also give it a 6.5 out of 10. I enjoyed it. I, again, had never heard of this movie, so I had like no expectations at all. Yeah, visually, like, fine, not so amazing, not as good as the other movies we've watched, but I thought the acting was great. I thought the story was really intriguing. It would be that kind of movie where, like, I don't think I'll seek it out soon, like you said, but like, it might be one of those things where I'd be like, oh, you know what's a good movie that's like really underrated and no one's really heard of, is like this movie. One thing that this movie kind of did open my eyes about is, like, again, with American Gothic, and this kind of falls more under like Southern Gothic, is this movie is an all-black cast, and you said an all-black crew, right?
Yeah, I mean, at least out of the major players, like, I couldn't tell you who,
right,
like,
there might be a white PA on set.
Yeah, like, I couldn't tell you like about the lighting guy, but like it was a black DOP, black director, and
writer,
black writer, and like a lot of black producers. Right. Also, Sam Jackson was a producer on this. Oh. Yeah.
But yeah, it just kind of opened my eyes with, like, if you look up Southern Gothic movies, like, the first 50 results, this is the only movie that has an all black cast, and like really like a majority of like people of color cast. And I just find it interesting because like part of Southern Gothic, a large part is like the history of the land and the environment you're around and the religion and race. Race is such a big theme in Southern Gothic.
It's an integral component of American Gothic as a genre.
Yeah. And so it's just, I find it like interesting how this is the only movie with like a predominantly Black cast.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, you said it earlier off camera, like there are so many books and stories in Southern Gothic that revolve around like, I just find it like a little bit strange.
I think one could almost argue, and again, like I haven't done the stats, but like as a literary genre, the Southern Gothic is like dominated by Black stories.
Yeah.
I haven't like done the stats. Like I don't know if it's a majority. I doubt it's a majority, but like
it's very prevalent.
Interesting.
Yeah, I guess I would just like to like encourage Hollywood, like make more Southern Gothic movies.
Yeah.
But like you have so much like history and culture sitting like in this little like gold mine of like stories to tell. And it's like, why haven't they been told yet?
I know. And there are also just so many amazing American Gothic books that like would make great films. Yeah, no, I am kind of surprised and slightly upset that there aren't more American Gothic films or Gothic films in general.
It's such an underrated genre. Like
really
seeing
is.
Nosferatu last year really just reminded me like how weirdly fun Gothic movies are.
They are fun.
They're so stylish and they're so cool and they're
stylish, they're sexy, they're violent. They have everything you could want in a film going experience.
Yeah, it's really like Hollywood, please make more American
Look
Gothic
at how well
movies.
Nosferatu did.
Yeah.
Learn from that.
Yeah, please remake Night of the Hunter with a good director.
Yes. Oh God, I want a Night of the Hunter remake so bad. But like
honestly,
with a good director, please.
Let's make the pitch. Let's make the storyboard. Let's find a studio to sell it to.
I'm sure Guadagnino will take my emails.
Yeah, why don't you just call Taylor up? That's what it is. Also, I feel like now's a good time to go through our bingo board and see what we've hit and what we haven't hit.
So yeah, we got pretty much everything except race or class tensions.
When did we cross? Wait, okay. I wasn't playing the game, right? Because I still have Are We Born Evil, Physical Decay, and Hereditary. Hereditary Evil or Madness.
Okay,
we can totally cross.
Okay, fine. We didn't get Physical Decay or Race or Class Tensions.
Yes, but Are We Born Evil and Hereditary Evil or Madness, we totally covered.
Hereditary Evil or Madness, 100% Eve's Bayou, 100% Stoker.
Totally.
Are We Born Evil, 100% Stoker, 100% Night of the Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
Because Powell's evil is like never shown to have any sort of root. He just is this menace.
Yeah.
Psychological terror, I think we could argue for all three.
Totally all three. Big Ol' House, all three.
All three. Destruction of the Family Unit, all three.
Mm-hmm. Religious Puritanism and religious guilt is definitely Night of the Hunter.
Definitely. Repressed desires, all three.
Mm-hmm. Incest, two out of three.
2 out of 3.
Yeah, I was trying to think for a second.
Tense dinner table, all 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say pretty good. And I'm sure
pretty good. We didn't get bingo.
To be honest, I don't really know how we would get bingo because the board goes from like 3 to 4. So there's no way to get like a perfect like. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings.
Well, you know what? I couldn't think of any other tropes. So this is what we did.
This is a great list. And also, I'm sure that there's movies that have physical decay and race or class tensions that we just didn't pick for our lineup this week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they are kind of classic tropes within the genre.
Yeah, but for 10 out of 12, I would say we did a pretty good job.
Pretty good. Yeah, I'd agree. So we hope you come back next week. We will be watching Midsommar, Opus, and The Master for episode 5, Cults on Film. And we hope you watch along with us.
I am so excited for next week.
Oh, me too.
I have a weird obsession with cults.
Me too. We've talked about this.
We definitely have, but I am excited to see if anyone else also has a weird obsession with cults next week.
Leave it in the comments if you do.
Please.
Yeah, come hang out with us. We're also weird.
Yes, but yeah, I've had so much fun this episode.
Me too.
All right, well, I'm Maggie.
I'm Olivia.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.